For 700 years, the people and rights of Ireland have been under the tyrannical power of the English government. This would be the case until 1937, as Ireland will finally gain its independence. However, this would not be the case for Northern Ireland, as they would continue to be ran by the United Kingdom. This would lead to many injustices to occur due to the structure of this government, and would lead to the emergence of the popular social group, the IRA. The purpose of this presentation is to tell you about these injustices, and what makes me credible to tell you about them is due to my extensive research about finding these points in history. As someone who lives in America, you should care about this information because this was once something that our forefathers had to deal with when trying to form a new country. I'll tell you about how the IRA was formed due to the religious discrimination, gerrymandering, and how it led to these implications that would occur, and how we should, when we see these implications in the modern day, we should use our platform to say something about it. So first, let's talk about the religious discrimination. With the government being Protestant ran, this would alienate the Catholics and move them into low-income housing areas. And Simon Prince in the Global Revolt of 1968 would state how these people living in the low-income housing areas would not get their votes counted for in democracy. And this is serious discrimination. And as gerrymandering is going on, we see unemployment rates shoot through the roof, and a headline reads, "Protest urge on Northern Ireland," and Irish Times states how these people are fed up, and it's eventually moving them into these low-income housing areas, resulting in more people's voices not being accounted for. And this, Mahanacy Voices of 1968 would state, is the last straw for these Irish people and would emerge the group, the IRA. And Joseph Brown in the Force of Words book states that the IRA would do bombings and commit violence in order to get their point across. They would bomb government official buildings and government official vehicles, and would even result into physical violence when seeing these officials on the street. And this would have many implications on the people of Northern Ireland. And when we see these injustices, we should speak up about it. The IRA emerging was because of they didn't have the freedom of religion. And the freedom of religion was due to the fact that these people were being marginalized and they weren't getting the respect that they deserved. And they were being targeted due to the fact that they were Catholic. As we see, they were moved into low-income housing areas. Their votes weren't getting accounted for. And the IRA tried to do something about it. But the second implication we see is the lack of cooperation with the government. The government never wanted to deal with the IRA, and eventually made it so more violence occurred on the people of Ireland, that the IRA would have to back down in order so more people wouldn't die. It wasn't worth the numbers for them anymore. So lack of cooperation of the government, they didn't want to hear the protests. They didn't want to hear the people who were of the IRA. So given this information and what we've seen, we can, with our new information and technology and social media, we could promote the injustices that are going on in the world. And in conclusion, Northern Ireland has been dealing with this problem for hundreds of years. But with the emergence of social media and the emergence of new technology, maybe one day they could be free with their neighbors in the South. I told you about the religious discrimination, the gerrymandering, and the implications that occurred due to this problem. While these problems may have been more prominent 30 years ago, we could still see how the government never really did anything about it, and how people are still fighting for their freedom. And if maybe this was done in today's age with today's media and today's technology, they could have been free.